And welcome to another video. Now, I did say that I would show you things as they came into the house for the hauls instead of doing a collective one. So all throughout the videos there'll be little bits and pieces of things that I've picked up or an order that's come in. I have just come back from my family's place in the country because we were doing Easter 2.0, so we are exhausted. That drive just gets harder and harder every time we do it. 8-hour drive back, 8-hour drive one way, and then we had, you know, 2.5 full-on days with the family, with a tribe of kids. So it's been really hardcore. So even though I took stuff to do and work on, it's just not a dull moment when it comes to hanging out with a huge tribe of kids. My sister and I did manage to squint away, no, that's probably spirit away. Her and I never get to do anything together, so the partners took care of the kids, and her and I quickly nicked out to the country op shops together to have a look for some things. Now, my sister and I are completely opposite. She was looking for old horror books and for like VHSs and that sort of thing, and I was looking for like vintage flower books and that sort of stuff. I actually did not find that any books in the op shops, but I did pick up a couple of really beautiful sort of stitched linens and things, which are a little bit harder to find in Sydney. I feel like they get picked up and snapped up really quickly. I picked up a couple of little vintage hankies, which I thought had really nice coloring. I love this yellow one. It reminds me of my nan, actually, the yellow one. So there's that one. And then I picked up a little embroidered napkin, and then I picked up a pillowcase that had like a really pretty vintage rose embroidery on it, so I'll probably do that as a panel. And like all of these things, so all these little bits and pieces cost me $2. Now in Sydney these would be $2 each, especially the pillowcase, that would be $3. So all of this cost me $2, and I was pretty impressed. I also bought Lily some vintage Paul Jennings books, who is her favorite author at the moment, or one of them. There's another one that we're actually going to an author talk next weekend. But yeah, Paul Jennings is who I grew up on, and finding the old school versions of some of the books have been quite hard in Sydney. They seem to be snapped up very fast, but in the country there were heaps, so I picked up her about 5 books, so she did better than I did. My sister found some really cool horror books that had been sitting in the bookshelves and things, so there's that. But on the way home there is a bookstore called Thicket Books, and it is in Uralla. And we passed through Uralla, and Hubs wanted to quickly have some food because we had picked up food. And I said, well, while you're eating in the car park, can I pop into this place and see if they have a second copy of a book I'm trying to track down? They didn't, obviously. I've got a book that my girlfriend gave me, and I've shown it before. It's called Flowers of the World, or Wildflowers of the World. And it is full to the brim with beautiful watercolor illustrations of plants and flowers. Anyway, I can't cut it up. I can't do it, even though I desperately want to, so I'm on the search for a second copy that I can cut up. But instead, I've happened to find these 2 books that are quite old, and these ones have a lot of drawings and flower pictures. Oops. And it's on that sort of matte paper. There's some maps in there. There's lots of, I'm probably not showing you, lots of floral drawings that I can cut up for things. And it also had some clippings that were sort of sat inside as well, which was a nice little treat for me to find when I got home. So this one was one of them, and although it's not as beautiful as the other ones, I think some of the line drawings are stunning. There's also things like this, which will be lovely to cut up. So this one was really, really nice. And I even really liked the spine of this one, if I was to turn the actual cover into something. So there was the Reader's Digest Complete Book of the Garden. Now when I'm looking for books like this, I want to make sure that they have matte paper and not glossy paper. I put a stack of books back with glossy paper. I just didn't want to deal with the gloss, but these, as you can see, is nice and matte and still filled with lots of beautiful plant illustrations that I can cut up for my journals. Now this one is called Flowers of the World, and this one was in pretty decent shape, and I also really love the end papers, so I think I'll be doing something with the end papers. This one is huge, and has similar pictures to the ones that are in my other book. And although they aren't as, actually I might go get my other one and then I'll show you what I mean by similar but not. Wildflowers of the World, and my girlfriend picked it up for me at a secondhand bookstore. And these ones have full page. Every page is a full illustration, and the back of it is text, so that you technically get every single illustration, doesn't go to waste, because every other page is text, and it is, every single page is like that. This is the one I'm trying to find a second copy of. The paper is not glossy, but it's not matte. It's also super thick paper as well, and they are stunning. So I have been hunting high and low for a second copy that I can, without guilt, cut up, and they go on eBay really expensively. This one was $25, and I'd happily pay that again, or $30 max. So I've been trying to find a second copy of this in the op shops, which I am failing at. But as you can see, this one has very similar feel. Still got that quite thick paper, but obviously I will have to pick and choose what I use and what I don't use, because the text is on both sides and the illustrations are on both sides. But I still think for the $10 that I paid for it, there will be a lot of use out of these sorts of things, like single images that you can cut out and stuff like that. So I will share that with Sian, because I know she'll get a kick out of this one as well. Actually, I'll share both with her, because we have both been trying to find some books to chop up, and because I love florals and plants and things like that, I just couldn't let it go. So they were the finds from my country trip. I also bought a really beautiful old version of Little Women, which I'm trying to decide whether I use the cover as a journal cover or whether I just keep it in my collection. But those were the art related ones. Now there was one order waiting for me when I got home, and this is from Washi Wednesday. I found out about Washi Wednesday through Johanna Clow, who makes junk journal videos, and she's also a great friend of mine and has been for many years. So I picked up a few of these sort of, I think they're washi stickers, and they've got sort of plants and things, and this one's got mushrooms on it. And let me just open them up. I thought I picked up so many more, and maybe I'm just thinking I did or wishing I did. So there's the florals for that one, and this is a full floral on here, so you can see that one. And I think these were relatively cheap. I think they're about $1 or $2 a pack. Maybe, and I'm saying that I thought I picked up more because maybe I bought some more from a different company, because I did go a bit crazy one night and went on a bit of a buying bender, which is why you've been seeing a couple of hauls here and there. I love the mushrooms from this one, and obviously the little plants and things. I think I bought this one mainly for the mushrooms because I loved how they looked. And then obviously I'll keep these little cellophane bags because they come in so handy. And I also picked up some washi tape. This is a craft washi tape, and it's by Classicy, and it is a brown grid, which I think will be really, really nice. I also picked up a brown floral, 10 to Sen. I don't know this company very well. But I liked the brown sort of floral-like look. And then I picked up a MT brand with the flowers and things. I have another one of those that I've been using quite a lot, and this one is one of the Morrison & Co. This one I have seen Johanna use quite a lot in her journals, and I think she's got a couple of his things. Let me open them up so that they're a little bit less sticky. That's the only thing that I don't like is the packaging. So this one's got a really nice sort of vintage floral to it. And then I also picked up this, and I'm not sure, I think because I have trouble finding map books, I actually picked up maps and things, vintage maps. And they're the only ones I got. And then this one's got little blue floral print. So something a little bit different. So that is pretty much all that I've got. Like I said, I've been really enjoying the whole junk journaling thing at the moment. It's bringing me quite a lot of joy. I'm enjoying the break from all the bright and colorful and just enjoying trying new mediums. And I am slowly adding text to the pages. I took this with me and I was going to do some things. I actually took a photo while we were traveling. I took many photos while we were traveling and I took my printer and everything, but I actually took no ephemera with me, like no paper or anything. So I just had a little bit of tape and stuff like that. So I kind of kicked myself. I had an ephemera pouch that I forgot to pack, which had little bits of paper and a few little, you know, odds and ends that I would use for layering and stuff like that. I didn't bring any of those. And so I kind of just decided that was a sign to enjoy my family's company instead of playing in my journal. But I'm definitely going to sort of jump around in my journals today. And I think that's because in my hobo I've got watercolor of a bunny for Easter, and I'm trying to decide if I'm going to jump between the journals or just stay in this one, print out some of my photos. So we'll see what happens. I'm kind of just going with the flow. This has kind of been the theme this April, is to just chase the muse and chase the joy and take you guys along for the ride, which you've been enjoying, and it's been such a breath of fresh air. I have pulled out a few odds and ends from not magazines, but like a paper I was hoarding. So I've got some of that. I have this little ladybug that's got like a fountain pen on her and some paper and some notebooks, and I want to put that somewhere. A couple of collages that I thought were really cute in this was the magazine. It's called Bloom, and it was like an illustration magazine, or I want to say paper, that was at the art store, and I've had this for about a year now and haven't done anything with it. And so I decided to pull out the pages that I actually originally wanted it for. This one's got this really big sort of map on it, and then there's this one here, and that's it. So there are a few really cool collage-y looking things that really caught my eye that I've sort of been, you know, hoarding and haven't really done anything about. But I definitely want to have a play today because I've just, like I said, I've been really enjoying this style. I have a lot of collage sheet stuff to do, so I thought if I do a quick little journaling session with you on a Sunday before we go out and do our family things we need to do. School starts again on Tuesday, which I am so grateful for, which means we need to sort of go and grab a couple of winter things for the kids because we've had a cold snap, and I think that's a sign of things to come, that we will be needing to grab a couple of tracksuit pants and some tights for Lily and stuff like that before they go back to school. See, I brought this with me, and like I printed my little Scrabble board that we were playing, the adults, when the kids went to bed. And like, this is the only thing that I brought with me were the stickers that Maria had sent me and this little thing that says drink some tea. And I checked like the pockets and things thinking that I'd brought stuff with me, and I hadn't. So I felt like a complete dork being all... I took notebooks and things, like these are all stickers and not really what I was after. And I don't know why. I just went full idiot and just forgot to pack my little ephemera pouch with some tea-dyed paper and just layering things. And obviously I didn't... I don't know. It was, like I said, a sign from the universe to sit down and really just take in some family company. And I did have an amazing time with my sister. We've had a rocky relationship for quite many years, and it's only been in the last maybe 3 to 4 that her and I have finally, you know, come together and really enjoyed each other's company. And it's just so nice to sort of spend some time with her and her family, and, you know, sit and play Scrabble at night. And I came second and hubby came first, and she came third and her partner came last. But we had a blast, and even though I didn't get to do much journaling, it's all about making the memories, and I can definitely come home and journal. And now I've got all these pretties that I can sort of have a play with that I'm going to enjoy playing with. So I might use some of the new things in this video actually, because I kind of want to have a play. I also want to kind of have chop up some of that book. So yeah, so get a cup of tea, grab your journal. I also printed some frames that Sian brought with her on Friday before we left, or Thursday. So I'm gonna have a play with some of those and see what happens. I think it's time to make a cup of tea because my fingers are freezing. Like I said, it has had a cold snap since we came home. But I'm really relaxed, which is always a good sign, and I'm really excited to have a play in this. This is sort of just, it's giving me that happy feel. I don't know what it is. I think it's just you're doing something different. Your brain's thinking differently. You're playing with different mediums. So like I said in my inspiration video, if you're in a rut, change things up. Now I remember one of my favorite thin tapes I actually bought in the larger style. Pretty sure that is the same print, just wider. So that was one of the things that I wanted to do, was get one that was similar, and I'm pretty sure they are the same or very, very close to the same. I'm just pulling out the things that I actually took with me. I took my sprocket. I took the washi tape that I got in the stationery selection box because I loved it. I took a glue stick. I took extra printer paper because sometimes I forget how many's in here, and I obviously want to print pictures and then they fall apart. That whole plan falls apart. I took my the palette that I built to take to Japan because they have sort of very muted tones. I obviously also bought my stock standard pocket rocket. I took a couple of pens with me, a brown pencil, a grey, like a normal lead pencil, a white pen, and the Sarasa clip in the sepia tone, I want to say, that I got obviously in the stationery selection box. Mitz has helped build this collection of vintage things. I bought a tape runner. I bought this sort of travel vintage washi tape that I think I got in Japan. I have an eraser, I have a black pen, and this one wasn't meant to be in there, but this is like the Galaxy one. I think that was just a stowaway. I did pick up, well, hubby picked these up for me in the little shop in town, and it's to remind me that it's okay to ask for help, and then sort of believing in and having faith in what you're doing, having passion for the things that you're doing. And so he even wrote on the back, "To bear me love, hubby." And he actually picked cards for each of our children and my niece as well. My niece is getting quite bullied in the country school that she's currently in, so he got her a little card. He picked them all. This man is amazeballs. About standing in your own power. He picked one for Lily about being grateful, because at the moment Lily is always seeing things that she doesn't have and is not being grateful for the things that she does have. Like, she's never satisfied, and I think that's a trait that we need to sort of there is times when you shouldn't be satisfied with your life, as in your job and where you are, and always striving to better yourself. But then there's also times when you need to be super grateful for what you have in your life, and she's not at the moment. And it's something that I'm really seeing a lot of in her behaviors. So hers was about gratefulness, and Elijah was about speaking the truth. And if something hurts someone and it doesn't help them, then to keep it to yourself. And it's a lot about lying, which is something that he seems to be having a little bit of issues with as we go through the high school process, especially when it comes to lying about homework and assignments and things. And so he picked one for about asking for help, and then about, you know, keeping a passion for what you do. So I think I'm not going to put them in my journal. I think I'm literally going to put them in my wallet, because they're meant to be like cards that you put into your wallet. So they're like a plastic sort of credit card. So they're the two that he picked for me, and I'm pretty sure that is all I actually packed. And my pen roll, which must be still in my backpack. But yeah, they're the kind of bits and pieces. My pen roll didn't have much difference than it normally does, my normal pens. So I didn't take a whole lot with me, and then I kind of kicked myself because for the one time I actually did want to sit down and create. That's also something that's missing. My mini stamper. Oh, there it is. This was something that came in a stationery selection box, the self-inking stamping date thing, and it's like little and it's awesome. And a pair of skizzers, which were in the pocket inside, and my iPad charger. And this was the green bag that all the little cards came in. So that is it. Like I said, I'm babbling, but I'm just setting the mood of what I took on my travels, even though it was fail. Found this overlay from a few quite a while ago now with the pressed or dried flowers, so I think I'm going to tip that in with some clear tape, so I'm going to have to cut it down so it fits. But I really love it. I need to decide. I love this flower, so I want to make sure that it's in here. I think I might put it in here, so that means it's time to get ready for the actual video. Let's go. First, I'm going to attach that piece of acetate that I love so very much, and this was in Collage Sheets back last year, I'm pretty sure. So if you go through the archives, you can probably find it, especially if you love flowers as much as I do. And I'm using clear tape to adhere that because I don't actually want to interfere with the pattern or anything like that, and because a lot of the background is clear, I just want it to be an overlay and sort of be almost invisible, like it doesn't have anything attached to it, and I always go to clear tape for that. I have most of this video down at 2 times fast, just so you can see the sort of rate I am moving at, and then towards the end I speed up to 4 times fast just for the sake of time constraints. And some of the things that I do at the end is just me faffing about, which is what I do when I know I want to do more but I have time restraints. I decided that I wanted to incorporate some creatures into this junk journal. I don't want to abandon my style or the things that I love to draw and love to do, and so I decided that I wanted to do some vintage style nook dwellers and kind of give them very vintage color palettes, and that would be the only difference that I would absolutely do for these guys. And it's easy for me to be able to do this because I love drawing creatures and things, and all I need to do is kind of change the way that they're colored and shaded, and they kind of mix in with my style already. There are lots of things that I'm going to do in this junk journal that is very reminiscent of my bright and colorful style. It is just the color palette that is different. And obviously my love for florals is no different, and my love for texture and paper and sort of the sounds of stationery, if you will. So even though this is a different style of journaling for me, a lot of the things that I already do in my day-to-day journaling, in my Hobonichi, in all of my journaling are very much the same. It's just me tweaking the way that I apply my mediums and the color palettes, and I kind of make sure that my photographs are edited a certain way with certain hues amped up so that it all goes together. And that's kind of my secret to doing any type of style of journaling. Once you've got your favorite things in place, like the way you do certain things, really it's only your colors and how you apply some of your mediums that will change. And as you can see with all those colored pencils, they're very much the same sorts of tones as the florals in the opposite page, as in the photograph that's above it. And you don't see my neon pink pencil, you don't see like crazy bright turquoise and things. They're all very vintage hues, and I deliberately do that so that my artwork will suit the page that I'm working on. And that's kind of the whole secret behind it all, is that you can do any type of style of journaling you want, but you generally just work out what sort of color palette you want to adhere to. So I grabbed all my Prismacolor pencils out and grabbed all my really soft browns, dusty pinks, these sort of green golds, and a little bit of orange. I have a bright sort of reddy orange in there, but that's purely for cheek pops, where I would normally put a neon pink. I've decided to go for a burnt orange red because that sort of lends itself to the warmer tones and is still sort of like a cheek color without being hot pink.
dancing on a wire. Yeah, we were dancing on a wire.
Now I wanted to add some acrylic paint into this page to help the stability of the paper. Now I wasn't thinking very clearly when I created my junk journal insert. I was just using what I had and sort of gravitating towards the tea-dyed papers and the coffee stained papers that I had done. And most of those papers have a beautiful crinkle to them because they're very lightweight and they sound beautiful and they move beautifully. But they aren't the best for working mixed media or working with more wet mediums. By this I mean watercolors and sort of watercolor pencils and that sort of thing. The paper disintegrates very, very easily, and I know this because on the first page I did a watercolor leaf and it bled really badly. So I have to be super mindful with how I tackle some of these pages because I wasn't smart enough to tea dye sketchbook paper or watercolor paper or anything like that. So I'm not going to let that stop me from creating with mixed mediums and being very crafty with how I apply things. A lot of people ask me with my Tomaway River paper insert, how did I get so much medium on there? You know, how was that not bleeding? Blah, 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 blah. It's about making a barrier with the wet mediums that you're using. This can be gesso if you like, and I will use gesso sometimes, especially when I'm mixing them with my Caran d'Ache watercolor crayons, but because I didn't have those out today, I decided that I really wanted to use my colored pencils, but I also wanted to add some sort of layering of wet medium with watercolor and paint. So the acrylic paint creates a barrier, and these are the paper artsy paints, and I'll talk a little bit about that at the end, but they're a fan favorite. I talk about them a lot. I've featured them many times, and I'm still using the same colors that I used back in the day. I haven't bought any extras, and they serve me very well and help lend themselves. The color palette is very neutral and very muted, so they work super well, and this makes me think that my Liquitex acrylic inks in all the muted colors would also look really beautiful against these sort of brown neutral tones that I've got happening in this insert.
So beautiful, and if you fall, I will catch you. We will dance away gloomy days right here. We are silver line, one of a kind, you and me. We will dance away the gloomy days right here. We are silver line, one of a kind, you and me. And I can reach you from a distance. I can, so beautiful. I can hear you within the silence. Ooh. Putting our life in boxes, erasing the memories so you won't notice. I'm taking the time to focus. You're by yourself, I'm by myself. Wish I could solve your problems. They're stuck on my wall like neon paintings, and I'm so tired of being honest to everyone by myself. I do it so well. We were so good at flying, but we can't keep flying. We keep getting stuck on the wrong side of the mountain. We were so good at trying, but we can't keep trying, 'cause we only end up on the wrong side of the mountain.
because I have my little cream puff watercolor tab, not even a tab, but sort of an over the page hanging thing, and I hadn't got anything on the back of it. I wanted to add some of the layered papers on the back so I could use that as a spot, and trying to work out what I want to do and what sort of photograph, and playing around with the stuff from the stationery selection box, and obviously some of my new goodies. I really love the mushrooms from this pack, so I decided that I was going to use them. They're not actually washi stickers, they're rub-ons, but you know, it wasn't any problem. I didn't have my bone folder handy, so I just used the edge of my scissors to get them on, and they worked really nicely. They're super vibrant. And I decided to put my photo from the actual trip in that little corner where I've had that layered paper, because it sort of helps work over the top of those papers, and adding some of the new washi tape and the plasticky sticker, which is because there's a K on my sister's microwave, like the letter K, one of those light up little letters, and I was sitting there racking my brains going, why is there a K? None of the family members have a K in their name. And I absentmindedly sort of said to Graham, my sister's partner, what's with the K? Like, no one has a K. And he goes, yeah, but K is for kitchen. And I just felt so dumb. And when I saw the K on the tape, I thought I have to put this in my journal because it's part of, you know, some of the ephemera that I got in my order, but it also links to a story that made me feel pretty silly, but I laughed nonetheless. And I'm adding some of those watercolors from my Japan tin over the top of that matte paint. And they move so beautifully because they don't sink in, they sit on top. So they give you that really beautiful mottled effect, and once they dry, they stay that way, which I love.
Hand in hand, building castles out of sand, reaching for the grand. As willows align, we lose track of time. Head up high, now we climb. Dreamy, breezy, we go. Easy, easy on our tiptoes. Undercover agents.
I just have a little bit of my journaling to go, which I can do off camera. You don't need to see that, but I decided to put some of the journaling down here, just some of my thoughts. And I like the fact that I'm slowly introducing a little bit of pink into the insert, because I'm definitely not going to let go of my pink ways, but just a very muted pink. I talk about these all the time. These are the paper artsy paints that by Bun recommended in a class I took a couple of years ago, and I haven't actually ever bought more than the colors that I already owned. And there's one up here, one down here. I bought, you know, grays, blues, browns, and a couple of blues. There's a light blue missing, and I think maybe one more sort of neutral that I use all the time. And you'll definitely see a lot of the pinks and sort of neutrals, maybe not so much the blues, but definitely like the pixie dust and the blush accompanied with the mushroom. They're sort of the colors I would gravitate towards for the pages, and a lot of what I used here. Now, the reason why I went towards the aspect of matte paint or acrylic paint in general is because I know that this paper is just copy paper, and I had issues when I was doing this page with bleed through, and because I didn't think about what I wanted to do on this beautiful insert, I didn't put sort of thicker weight papers like sketchbook paper or watercolor paper into the mix. And so now, after having that bleed through onto this page, I have to be very mindful about sort of what mediums I'm putting on these papers and how I create with them. So this is still just a piece of copy paper. So the acrylic paint creates almost like a boundary, a blocker, if you will, and so I made sure that I put that down as a loose background so that I knew that this was a matte paint, so my ballpoint pen would write over it. I knew that my watercolors would react quite nicely over them. They wouldn't sink into the paper and sort of bleed through. They'd sit on top, and once they dry, they have that sort of mottled effect. You can see that this is more the paper, and this is on top of the matte paint, so they have a different effect, which I always love. And I decided that I want to do a couple of sort of nook dweller creatures in the sort of vintage style within this book, because I still don't want to abandon what I love to do, but it's just changing my color palette and how I apply them. And that's definitely, if you want to switch gears, you've been a vintage person, you want to go crazy bright and colorful, you just sort of do what you already do, but you're thinking about your color palette a bit more and all that sort of stuff. In the voiceover, I probably talked about the K. There is a K in my sister's kitchen on her microwave, and I stupidly one morning was just staring off into space with my cup of tea, and I said, what's the K for? There's no one in the family with a K. And Graham, her partner, goes, yeah, but K's for kitchen. And I laughed so hard because I felt so dumb. And when my classic-y tape had a giant K on it, I thought that it was a sign to sort of add that, because it was a memory that I wanted to remember, and it just sort of fit. And it was a really nice sort of color. Deciding to put the Polaroids on top of the acetate, because if I put it down here, it just took up too much of the writing space, and I didn't want to do that. I do feel like there's something missing. I just haven't worked out what it is, but I can definitely always go back and sort of add things. I may even go back and sort of play around with her facial features a little bit more, add a bit more pencil work and a bit more shading, just to sort of give her a bit more depth. But I am working on a time limit because we've got things to do. Hubby's got to go get a haircut, but I definitely wanted to have some fun with some color pencils, because again, like I said, this paper is only copy paper, so I have to be super careful about how I go about things and how I need to prep my pages. Now, I don't like gesso, which is why I opted for the matte paint. It gave it some color, but also created a boundary. So yes, I am really, really enjoying myself. I have a few pages at the front that I'll probably need to sort of have a play with. I didn't get time today to cut out some of the florals, so you may see that in another video. But yeah, I will be jumping between all the journals that I have on the go at the moment, so you'll see me in various different styles. But because I had such a limited amount of time and I was itching to play with the new stuff, I also didn't get to use my map tape, but I'd love to put it somewhere. So I'm kind of wondering where I could put it, just for the sake of it. But I don't want to just slap it down for no reason. But I do really enjoy how it is slowly coming together, and I like that I can still do some of these guys. If you'd like some vintage style nooks in collage sheets, let me know. I can definitely make that happen. The only thing I don't love is that this isn't like a picture that I would want to be seen first up, so I may do something about that. I did love the look of this in the corner when I flip that out, but from like here down, I'm not a fan, so I may actually attach a piece of paper here or something, and then just have that peeking out, so it'll be like an extra bit. Who knows what I'll do, because I've already added journaling here, so maybe I can't even do that and just have to live with my choices, but that's okay. It's all about the fun. I could definitely give her a giant eyeball if I wanted to. I also have a Bambi tag that I want to attach from some clothing that I got quite a while ago now, and I've been hoarding the tag probably for my Disney journal, so maybe she'll probably be better off there. Who knows? But that is all from me. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and thank you so much for stopping by and checking out my crazy little junk journal as it slowly evolves. I can't wait to see what this looks like when it's all done and finished, and I hope you guys are enjoying the process as well. Have a wonderful weekend, guys, and I'll talk to you again soon. Bye!